Hi everyone, this is Mr. Mike for the Mechanicsburg Learning Center with episode 57 of Mr. Mike's Dino-A-Day. Today we are looking at puzzles. Things that are puzzling. Pieces of things that, when you see them alone, don't always add up to the entire beast that we've discovered. I've said for a long time that if you're a paleontologist, you have to be pretty good at doing puzzles because you have a single piece and maybe you don't have the picture of the animal. Of course you don't, because no one's ever seen it before. So you don't have a picture, but you have all these little pieces that you put back together and then try to figure out what this thing looked like in real life. It's a pretty fascinating science, which I've been fascinated since I was very young. And the reason I wanted to do these Dino-A-Day updates is because when you talk to adults, most of the time, unless your child is educating you, most of the time adults know the name of 5 or 6 dinosaurs or other ancient beasts, and sometimes they get those mixed up. And there are just so many more animals to find out about and explore. For example, are you guys aware of what is the largest carnivorous land mammal that's ever lived? Don't Google it, I'll wait. The largest carnivorous land mammal that has ever lived. This is something that we should all know about. Now, is it still the largest? Was it the largest? We don't know, but as of now, when we look at the evidence that we have, it's pretty clear that if it wasn't the biggest, it was one of the biggest. So, today's animal is not a dinosaur, it's not a pterosaur, it's not a fish. It is a mammal, and it is called Andrewsarchus. Now, I, for the longest time, pronounced it Andrewsarchus, like there's an S beginning the second half of the name. In fact, the name Andrews has an S at the end, and it's named for famous explorer, paleontologist, quite possibly the inspiration for Indiana Jones, RCA I like to call him, Roy Chapman Andrews. So his last name being Andrews, they named the beast in his honor because in 1923, Andrews, along with some folks, went to Mongolia in China to do a funded exploration and to try to find interesting things. And boy, did they find interesting things. And among the things that they found was this: a skull. And about a year later, Henry Fairfield Osborn named the beast Andrewsarchus, which means Andrew's ruler. That, ladies and gentlemen, is one gigantic skull. Imagine this is a land animal that ate meat. Look at the size of the teeth that this gentleman is holding. Quite a beast. Now, the other interesting thing is, excuse me, is that that's the only bone that we've ever found of the animal. It's not a complete skull. It's missing this part, the jaw. We just have this. So it's missing what we call the mandible. But that's okay, because it's such a unique skull that they were able to differentiate it from other animals at the time. So the animal was about 12 feet long. Now this is all based on the size of the skull, which is why I say that you got to be a big, really good puzzle maker and puzzle doer if you want to be a paleontologist. Based on the size of the skull, they compared it to other animals they think it was related to, and because of that they were able to extrapolate the size of the animal being around 12 feet long, and about 6 feet high. Kind of hunched over. It had this huge head, so they think it had a very muscular neck. If you think of Pumbaa, pretty good picture. It almost warthogish, obviously much bigger. I'm no paleo artist, but I decided to give you a picture of what I think it looked like. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mike's version of what Andrewsarchus may have looked like. Now, I don't know if he smiled that much, but notice the size of the head and notice the hump right behind his head. That's all muscle to hold that gigantic heavy head in place. And he was quite wide and covered in fur. And let's take a look at his teeth. Okay? Andrewsarchus. So the only skull ever found was a 33-inch skull. Not the complete skull, didn't have the mandible, but pretty good fossil to go on. And in the illustration I showed you, we are showing it with kind of a hump on its back. Probably it needed all that muscle just to carry that head around. Now, the discovery was actually not made by Roy Chapman Andrews himself. It was made by one of the folks on his expedition. His name was Can Chuan Pao. But Andrews, since he led the expedition, was the man honored by giving it that title and that name. So we also think that the animal, if you can believe this, brace yourself, the animal may have been related to not only hippos, but that means you're related to a whale. Doesn't exactly look like a whale, but there may be some connection to the whale based on, again, physiology and comparing it to other animals. Now, was it a carnivore? Probably. Was it an herbivore? Probably not. We also think, a new word for me, could it have been a durophagus? Could it have been a durophagus? What is a durophagus? Durophagus scrounges around at the beach, noses around, maybe gets its even number of little tiny hoofed claws. Each finger was like a little tiny hoof, and it would dig in the sand perhaps, and eat shellfish, mollusks. That is what a durophagus is, a mollusk or shellfish eater. I got to admit, sometimes I get a hankering and I could be a durophagus myself. So, named a year after it was discovered, 1923, so Henry Fairfield Osborn named it in 1924 in honor of RCA, Roy Chapman Andrews. So now you have the picture of what I think Andrewsarchus looks like. So why not, let's just jump in and read you the poem. And remember this. Keep that in mind as I read the poem. Andrewsarchus by Mr. Mike. Illustrated by Mr. Mike. I have to say that I'm impressed when scientists unravel the secrets of a long-gone beast released from rock and gravel. I've said before they must be well-accomplished puzzle doers, because sometimes one single puzzle piece might come from bone rescuers. So then it's up to them to reconstruct the ancient body. And if they want to keep their jobs, their work cannot be shoddy. So I admire those sharp minds that reassemble creatures, deciding how it looked alive and what would be its features. In 1923, an expedition went exploring and found a skull in desperate need of naming and restoring. The team was led by fabled, world-renowned Roy Chapman Andrews, an expert fossil hunter seeking scientific breakthroughs. The skull, it lacked a mandible, but it was still terrific. The thrill was understandable by all folks scientific. At nearly 1 full meter long, it surely was exciting, but since then not another bone's been found, as of this writing. They named it Andrewsarchus for the man that led the mission, who spent his lifelong odyssey pursuing his ambition. When it was named by Henry Fairfield Osborn, he suspected the largest land-based carnivore ever collected. So here we are with nearly a full century transpired, and not another single bone from it have we acquired. So we compare and analyze this ancient fossiled muzzle. We hope we'll find success in reassembling this puzzle. The mammal, Andrewsarchus, is it truly largest ever? Emphatically we'll say, of course! But let me say, however, we go on what we know right now, so let's remain objective. The next discovery that's made might transform our perspective. Andrewsarchus by Mr. Mike for the Mechanicsburg Learning Center's Mr. Mike's Dino-A-Day, episode number 57. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching live. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for being with me. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Did you ever heard of Andrewsarchus? The largest carnivorous land mammal that we have ever found, at least at the moment. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing these on Facebook. We appreciate it. When you go to YouTube, look for Mr. Mike Sgrignoli, and please subscribe and please like the videos. And we will do it again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have a great day. And remember, every dinosaur presents a new exciting puzzle.